to my Vim Lunch and Learn. It's going to be going through like my personal experience in how I got my first footing into Vim and how everyone else can get your journey started as well. Just to start things off, can I get a raise of hands like who's heard of Vim before? Damn, like everyone. Raise of hands like who's used Vim before? Okay, so, and can anyone tell me like why you guys haven't tried out Vim?
It seems hard.
The learning curve.
Learning curve, it seems hard, yeah. And my goal here today is to kind of ease you guys through that. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So what is Vim? Basically is a modal text editor, and a modal text editor is a text editor that has multiple different modes to it. Vim has 4 main modes, that being normal, insert, visual, and command. And a bit of history about Vim is it actually originated in 1976 before mouses were a thing. So developers back then could only interact with a keyboard and a terminal, and that was actually called VI. And in 1991, that evolved into Vim, which stands for Vim Improved, or VI Improved. And yeah, it's stood the test of time. It's been around forever, basically since the beginning of programming. Its main philosophy is your keyboard does absolutely everything. There's no reason to touch your mouse, to reach over for your mouse. You're completely reliant on your keyboard. And it's also installed in pretty much every Unix system, and that's including Macs. So if you guys just open up your terminal and type Vim, press enter, it should already be there. All right, and now going into Neovim. So what's the difference between Vim and Neovim? They both share the same philosophy. Just like how Vim is an improved version of VI, Neovim is a modernized fork of Vim. So same philosophy, same foundation, but it's improved with Lua-based configuration compared to the traditional Vimscript configuration. This allows for a asynchronous architecture compared to Vim's synchronous architecture. And also Neovim comes with built-in LSP support, which is language server protocol out of the box. Neovim also has a really, really big community-driven plugin ecosystem. So if you guys think of a plugin for Neovim, it probably already exists. And if it doesn't, you can always make your own. On the top right?
Lua-based configuration.
Lua-based. So Lua is a programming language. It's similar to Ruby. I think it's kind of like a good way to describe it is like a mix between Lua and Python. I know that Lua is used in Roblox. So if any of you guys made Roblox games in the past, Roblox is built on Lua. It's a standardized language instead of having its own dedicated language for just configuration. So that's the advantage to that. All right, and why should you guys choose Neovim? Because I know you guys are probably thinking, you guys use VSCode, Cursor, whatever IDE that you use, and it works perfectly fine, and yeah, I understand that. But for me personally, making that switch, making that jump, I realized that jumping into code, into a file is pretty much instant. Because Neovim is incredibly lean, it doesn't take up much resources on your computer, you can jump straight into it. There's no loading times or anything like that. What I really like about Neovim is I can only focus on just the code. What I found trouble when working with a IDE like VSCode, for example, it's just too cluttered. A lot of buttons, you've got the file tree, you've got the terminal at the bottom, and there's not much real estate for the code. In Neovim, your entire screen, your entire terminal can be just code, which I really like. I can really just focus on what's important. And also the composability as well. When I use Neovim, it's kind of like I type my actions, like my thoughts are being typed into these shortcuts. So like a good example is to delete an entire line. I just type DD, and that deletes the entire line. If I want to delete a word, I type DW, which means delete word. Motions like that, it can be hard to grasp at first, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes just instant. And yeah, I also really like the lean environment. Like I said before, I can just take things like the plugins and just use it whenever I need it. And one example of this is, I remember I was working on a big PR, and I wanted to see the difference between my branch, my feature branch, and the main branch. And there was not a good way to do that natively on Neovim. So I just Googled, is there a git diff plugin on Neovim? And yeah, of course there was. And yeah, just stuff like that is what I really like about Neovim's environment. And yeah, going into the 4 main modes of Neovim. So we have normal, insert, visual, and command. So normal is just a default mode. You go to Neovim, and that's the normal mode that you're in. And a good way to think about it is every key is a command. So this is where most of your navigation is going to happen. So you can jump by word, by line. You can jump to the end of the line, to the start of the line. You can jump to the top or the bottom of the file with just 1 or 2 key presses. And then we have insert mode, which everyone should be familiar with. Just standard, your keyboard acts how you expect it to act, nothing fancy here. And we also have the visual mode, which basically is just like a highlighting mode. So one of the commands that you can use in visual mode is you can select a piece of text and you can make all the characters uppercase. That's one of the use cases. Otherwise, you can also select pieces of text and just delete it as well. And we also have the command mode, and this mode is pretty important because once you get into Vim, you realize, oh, how do I get out? How do I exit Vim? And that's one of the main things people struggle with when starting with Vim. And to actually exit out of Vim, so this is the command mode. You enter it by hitting colon. That makes you go into command mode. And if you want to quit, then you can do colon Q. And if you want to save and quit, it'll be command WQ, which stands for like, right quit. And just going through my personal journey of using Neovim. Before I was like a lot of you guys, where VSCode was just the default. That's just how I started uni. They told us to use VSCode and kind of just stuck with it. And I've always heard about Vim, but it was kind of mysterious. Like, why do people use Vim, and why would I go out of my way to use Vim? Just felt like just very outdated technology that people just needed to leave in the past. But obviously, that's not the case. And the first time I've actually encountered Vim, I was kind of forced into using it. So I was doing a systems unit at uni, and they forced everyone to SSH into a Linux tunnel, and it had absolutely zero GUI, no graphical user interface at all. So just working with the terminal, and they just gave us, these tasks to do in the terminal. You can only use Vim, nothing else. No code editors, no IDEs. I kind of just ducked it out because there was no other choice. And I realized, like, as I was using it, like how efficient that it can really be. And I'll go through a demo in a little bit, but yeah, after that, after just being stuck with it for a while, I just thought to myself, like, why not just continue? Like, I'm already, a couple feet deep into it. And yeah, that led me into a massive, Neovim rabbit hole with the configuration, different motions that come with it, and yeah. And at first, it was a struggle. Productivity definitely took a nosedive. I was much slower than how I was before, and like it's always just reaching for the mouse, just reaching for the cursor, just always staying in insert mode. So it just feels like my regular IDE, and like so many errors that came in when I was using it as well. Like, oh, I didn't realize I was in the normal mode when I thought I was in insert mode, and I'd just be typing as usual, make some random ass edit, and I'll just be shitting myself. But I saw through it. It's definitely worth it. And I feel like I should have put a graph up, but the way I see it, when you first start Neovim, you start at the bottom here, when your productivity level is up here usually. But gradually it reaches past that ceiling of your initial productivity level and just continues to go higher and higher. And after around like 2-3 months, I feel like it finally clicked for me. I got myself really comfortable navigating around with just my keyboard, and especially the terminal as well. I realized like I was doing less thinking about like how I'm gonna be using these shortcuts, just more execution, and just again like going down into the rabbit hole of plugins and configurations, really tailored to how I want my setup to be. It's been amazing so far, and yeah, like looking back now, I just can't go back to a regular text editor. Yeah, so I recommend it because your productivity, like I said, goes to the roof. Given that you thug it out for the first couple of months. It's really fun to use. Like, I have a personal story where my friend, he was the biggest hater of me using Neovim. He was like, oh, why you gotta use Neovim? Like, you're such a geek. Like, you're doing too much, right? But I was like, bro, just give it a try. You never know. And you can flex that you use Neovim. Turns out, he's much deeper in it than me. He's just in a different planet now. He says, everything's so fun. Coding has never been so fun. I feel like that way because every small edit is a puzzle. You're constantly finding ways to optimize how you're editing, how you view code, and it's that workflow. It just changes. So a bit about Neovim. So under the hood, I recommend these 4 main plugins. First of which is the LSP, which is short for Language Server Protocol. This is important to get your autocomplete, go to definitions, go to references, diagnostics, and look at the type descriptions, etc. And also tree sitter as well. So what tree sitter is, it manages your syntax highlighting, and that's pretty much like a no-brainer. Those two are pretty much a no-brainer when it comes to setting up your Neovim. And telescope as well. So telescope is a fuzzy finder for files, file names, pretty much anything. including git commits as well. To tie all of this together, I used a package manager called lazy.nvim. It lazily loads your packages. Your packages are just like a one configuration like object away. Like with this, it makes it really easy to manage your plugins, manage your setup, and yeah, keep everything all tied together. Yeah, that's just like a graph of what I just talked about. And yeah, should we just dive into the live demo here? We'll start with just the basics first. Right here, I'm using Telescope just to fuzzy find by file name. So I'll start with the very first one here. So to move around, you use H, J, K, and L. So they sit in the home row of your keyboard. So that's your natural sitting position of your right hand. And L to move right, and H to move left. J to move down, K to move up. And you can also jump to different words as well. So W, jump forward to the next word. I can also press B to jump backwards to the next word. W to jump to the next word. B to jump backwards. You can go to the end of the line by pressing $. You can go to the start of the line by pressing 0. I'll kind of just brush over like the basics and just tell you guys like the cool bits of Neovim, like the cool motions that I regularly use on a day-to-day basis. So I really like the CI command, which stands for change in. So that can be change in W, so change in word, change in P, so change in paragraph, CIS, which stands for change in sentence. So if I just go to any point on the word here, let's just go over lazy, and I go CIW, that deletes the word and puts me into insert mode straight away. So I can just replace that and say fast, for example. And I'm back in normal mode now. So let's say I just want to get rid of this entire paragraph. Then I'll just go CIP to delete the entire paragraph, and I can type as usual, and steady to delete the entire line. Cool. And this is a file explorer that I'm using. It's a plugin called Oil. So the really cool thing about this plugin is that all your files are managed in a buffer. So just like a regular file that you can edit in Neovim. So I can just rename this file into just text.txt. I can save, and you can see at the bottom here, the file's now been changed to 1-text.txt. So it really makes it easy to make refactors and stuff, and it also changes any references to the renamed files as well. Just going on with the change in cycle here, you can also change in like brackets. So if I go to the start of here and I go change in bracket, I can delete all the content inside the like the circular brackets and just make my edits here. I can also go DI bracket to delete everything, but not go into insert mode and stay in normal mode. Same applies for just any types of parentheses. So for these curly braces, I can just go DI curly braces, and the entire function body is deleted. And to undo this, I just simply press U in normal mode, and that undoes everything, and I can go all the way back. All right, and you can just repeat your last used command as well. So if I go like DI curly braces, delete everything inside that curly brace, go down one line and press dot. That repeats exactly what I did previously. And I can go down again, press dot, and yeah, let's undo all of this. Again, same applies to quotes as well. So I can just go CI quotes, and that deletes everything inside that quote. And yeah, it applies to everything, even applies to like backticks as well. So if I have a testing like this and see I backtick, everything's deleted inside that backtick there. And this also works for HTML tags as well. I actually found this out recently. It's pretty cool how they do it. But it just works pretty much the same way. So I can just go CIT for tag, changing tag, deletes everything inside this header 1 tag. And if I hover over the parent tag here and go CIT, that deletes all the content, including the nested elements inside this parent tag as well. Cool. Let's go over to the dot repeat. So I did a little sneak peek before showing you guys how dot works. So In this exercise, I'll just be appending a semicolon to every single line, and I can do that by pressing capital A, which goes to the very end of the line and goes into insert mode, and I can just add the semicolon, go back into normal mode, and just repeat this over and over. And the cool thing with Neovim is you can also prefix any sort of motion with a number behind it. So if I don't know if it'll work in this case, but if I go like 3 dot, that will append the semicolon 3 times. And yeah. You can also rename stuff fairly easily as well. This is just one way to do it. So if I want to rename old name into new name, I can press the asterisk, which goes to the next word that matches what I was previously on. I can go CGN, new name, escape, and then I can just keep on repeating the same thing by pressing the dot, which repeats the previously done command. All right, and going to visual block. So this is the highlight that I was talking to you about earlier. A cool thing about this is you can highlight entire lines by going Shift V, or just character by character by just pressing V and doing your regular navigation motions. So like W, and go down, and you just delete. One cool thing I use regularly is if you go Control V, you can actually highlight by the specific column that you're on. So if I go down to the very bottom of the file whilst controlling V, and I can go to the very bottom of the file by going Shift G, and I go Shift I, and append like a bullet to it, and go back into normal mode by pressing Escape. That appends the bullet to every single line that I've highlighted. This can get useful in situations like this. So this is in Lua, and a global variable. So the variables here are supposed to be local variables, and we're missing that local prefix that comes with it. So if I go local here, it doesn't scream at us anymore saying about the global variable. And if I want to apply the changes to every single variable here, it's do the same thing. Control V, go to the very bottom, Shift I, make my edits, Escape to go back into normal mode. Oh, that's the wrong thing. So I can Control V, go down, and append local to the variable names, go to Escape, and we have our edits like that here. All right, and commenting as well, I use this pretty much daily. So if you just highlight any piece of code and just go GC, that'll just comment out the entire block. Press U to undo. To comment out just that specific line of code without being in highlighted mode is just GCC, and yeah. Another really cool command in the command mode is the replace command. How this works is I can go into command mode by pressing colon and go %S to apply all the changes in the file. Find the word that I want to replace, in this case food, and I can replace that with bar and add G at the end for global, and that will apply the changes throughout the entire file. If I don't want to do that, and I want to kind of pick and choose which words to replace, then I can go do the exact same thing again. %S, select foo, I'll replace that to bar, apply that globally, but also I want to make confirmations for each match that they have. So you see at the bottom here, it says replace with bar. I can press Y for yes, or N for no. So yes, 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 and maybe I want to keep these as it is. And yeah, there's also a cool feature to rename. I've got this prefixed as space RN for rename. So if I want to rename this function name to, for example, fetch user, you see all the changes are applied to this file here. If you have multiple files that reference this, it won't only change this file, but also other references within your repo as well. And yeah, going to macros, similar to the dot command where it replays your previous motion, this one can get a bit more advanced in a way that you can record your specific interaction. So in this example here, I want to wrap all the names here as a JSON object prefixed with name. So if I can record a macro by pressing Q, and a register that I want to record that macro to. So I want to record that to the macro, to the register Q. So I can go into now insert mode, So name is going to be Alice. Done. Go down one line, stop recording. And I want to apply these changes to the rest of the names here. So I can go to the top. I can press 6 at Q, which replays everything. And all my emotions are applied to our names here. And yeah, finally, the LSP. This is the language server protocol plugin that I was talking to you guys about. This allows for, if I press Shift K, I can see the type declaration of the user or like the function definition, and I can go to definition by pressing GD. And yeah, that's some of the features that you can get with the LSP plugin. All right, going back into the presentation. This is kind of like a brief overview of my current setup. I think a no-brainer is the telescope, LSP, tree sitter, and any form of like file traversal plugin. I currently use Oil. If you guys are used to the more traditional file tree, there's also a plugin for that as well. And I think the very good nice to haves are the conform, which auto formats on save. Get signs, you can see like the lines which you've edited, you've deleted, etc. A markdown preview. If you have a markdown file, then it automatically spins up a server and displays it as like HTML on your browser. And a diff view as well. I was talking to you about the Git diff view. Comes very useful, very handy sometimes. I recommend to get started, you guys can definitely start with a Vim extension on your IDE. I know for sure on VSCode they have a Vim extension. If you guys use Cursor, they should also have the Vim extension because it's a fork of VSCode. And I also recommend looking into Vim Tutor as well in your terminal. So if you guys just type Vim Tutor and press enter in the terminal, it will put you in Vim. And it's kind of like a tutorial, a beginner's guide on how to get started with Vim. And it'll cover all the basics that I didn't get to really touch on today. And yeah, configurations. So I started off with kickstart.nvim, and that came with all the plugins in the previous slide that I talked to you about, the top here. I think that's a very good place to start. It's very lean. It's just one file. Otherwise, very popular distro for Neovim is LazyVim and MVChat. These two really have everything out of the box. I personally find it a little bit bloated, but it's a very good starting point as well. And yeah, basically, if you guys get comfortable with Vim, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have started using Aerospace since Rebecca's Lunch and Learn, you guys are getting there, right? I recommend carrying on that Vim philosophy into just beyond Aerospace and Vim. Try out like tools like Tmux. So this is a terminal tool where you can split planes, have multiple terminal sessions in one terminal session, if that makes sense. There's also a Chrome/Firefox extension called Vimium. I can give you a quick demo of that now. So in Vimium, I can press F, and all these icons pop up of all the buttons and links that I can press. And if I want to press my icon here, I can just go E, pops up. I can press it F again, and yeah, you can also scroll up and down, just like how you do in Vim. I find it pretty useful sometimes. Sometimes it gets a bit annoying depending on what type of website you're on, but yeah, I think it's worth a try. Yeah, I think that's it from me. Any questions from you guys?
How do you use Cloud Code with this?
Oh, how do I use Cloud Code? So I use it with Tmux. So I can show you right now. You see, this is my Tmux bar at the bottom here. So my first kind of like tab in Tmux will be my Neovim, and I have my Claude in the second tab, so I can just go back and forth like this. And if you guys are used to having your Claude maybe at the bottom or on the side, then you can also use Tmux to create a new terminal at the bottom here. Go Claude, and you can use it like that. But I find it a bit cluttered, so I like to separate it into different tabs in Tmux.
Can you show us the git diff one?
Oh, git diff?
That plugin?
Yeah. If I make an edit here. yeah, you can see this is the git diff plugin. On the left is like the original, and on the right is what you changed.
And can you edit like in this?
Yeah, you can edit in this, so you can
Right, that's great.
just do whatever. Yeah, shows up in real time, and you can also like resolve merge conflicts, like rebase, like the whole lot in this as well.
Everyone who uses Vim, they always use like right quit instead of like just :X. I'm wondering like why you guys offer like an extra keystroke?
Is :X a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same thing,
what does
it's
it do?
like right quit.
It's the same thing as
Same
right
thing.
right quit.
Yeah. If you made a change, then it saves it.
Oh,
But
really?
If you don't make a change, then it just leaves it.
I did not know that.
Yeah. The only thing I think it might change is like the timestamp of when you change that file.
Oh, okay, but that's not really that
Nah, it doesn't
important.
matter, yeah.
Damn, okay, I appreciate that. I'll be incorporating that into my workflow. But yeah, I mean, I always like, for me, when I do :WQ, it's like muscle memory for me.
Yeah.
Because I never want to quit without saving. I mean, it will prompt you anyways if you try to quit without saving, but yeah, it's just really ingrained in me. But I'll try to change that. Minor optimizations, yeah.
If you're gonna get started, how would you recommend somebody get started? I guess like my one tip is if you can actually just like not unbind, but don't try to use your arrow keys as much as possible. Like it's one of the best ways to start. The forces to usually use like HJKL. And also one thing that I did when I started was that I actually started playing Binding of Isaac using HJKL for my movement in Binding of Isaac. I found that actually really helpful. Do you have any starting tips?
Oh, any starting tips? Try to use the extension, the Vim extension on VSCode or whatever IDE that you guys are using. Try to really force yourself to not use your mouse, and like Xavier said, like not use your arrow keys as well, just to get really familiar with like the Vim motions. I think it's really important because once you guys get in the habit of just using arrow keys instead of HJKO, it's kind of over. You form that habit, and it's gonna be really hard to just revert back. So you want to get a really solid start, and I guess like stuff like Xavier said, like playing Binding of Isaac with the HJKO, just incorporating that into your day to day can help like, a lot.
James said, "What happened to your glasses?" But I think relevant.
My glasses kind of broke, James.
Okay.
So I'm wearing contacts.
I think, yeah, I think there's no other questions, so I think we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Another round of applause.